the three-time world champion and Canada's best chance for an Olympic gold medal, Kurt Browning, with the entire nation and his parents here looking on.
To get here, to this moment, Kurt Browning has invested the best part of a young lifetime. At 25, he's been the world figure skating champion for 3 consecutive years. He has done things on the ice that no one will ever match, and he has jumped higher and faster and stronger than anyone of his generation. Yet here at Albertville, all that counts for nothing. Here, it all comes down to a fraction of a second, an inexplicable lapse, an athlete's nightmare, and Browning will be out of contention for an Olympic medal. It will haunt him for the rest of his life. Yet Kurt Browning knew the risks, knew the cost, knew that the years of sacrifice and pain had to be gambled here. He had no choice. For this is where Kurt Browning lives his life, a life on the edge. Like most skaters of his generation, Kurt Browning had nibbled at the corners of fame for a long time. Figure skating has a long apprenticeship. In 1988 at the Calgary Olympics, he placed 8th overall. The word on Browning was that he'd probably gone as far as he could go, but the word was to change, and change forever, shortly after Calgary.
Kurt Browning is Mr. Excitement. He does everything, and that will include a quad tonight.
At the 1988 World Figure Skating Championships in Budapest, Kurt Browning made history. Although a few exceptional skaters had made it in practice, no one until this moment had ever landed a quad in competition. A quad, 4 complete revolutions in the air. To the untrained eye, it is impossible to see. But what Browning is about to do here is launch himself 12 feet in the air, and at about 300 revolutions a minute, his face distorted by the speed, turn 4 times around and land on the edge of a steel blade about 1/8 of an inch thick.
All I was doing was trying just to let it happen. And I went up in the air, and I remember feeling that explosion that I talk about. And when I came down, landed, I felt the 1 foot, and then I felt over rotation, and I had to do what we call a 3-turn, which was just a turn afterwards to regain my balance. As soon as I did that 3-turn, my emotions went down because I thought that would cancel out the quad toe. I thought, oh no, they're not going to count it. All that work and all that energy and to come so close made me very angry. And I spent the next couple of minutes of my program getting rid of this angry energy into every jump that I've found. Halfway through the long program, I started realizing maybe I did land it.
He had landed it. It took only 0.8 of a second, but it declared to the world that Kurt Browning was now a contender for the figure skating crown. When the Soviets invaded Czechoslovakia in 1968, Michael Uranek and his wife Renata were national ballroom dancing champions. After the invasion, they eventually foxtrotted their way to Canada, ending up on a small cattle ranch 80 miles south of Edmonton. Uranek had been a novice figure skating champion and was soon making a few extra dollars coaching part-time. That's when he met his skinny little 13-year-old rancher's son who wanted an advanced lesson. Michael Uranek gave him one. It lasted 15 minutes and cost $3.25.
You can glide out of
He's been his coach ever since.
Glide. You can even get into it somehow. And then as the music comes and you open your eyes, you could even come on your toes and stop for it.
It's going to be not just a change of music, but like an absolute bit of silence. Stop, yeah. Almost like just no music for a whole second or so.
They work out of the Royal Glenora Skating Club in Edmonton. Browning moved here from the small town of Caroline, Alberta, when he was just 15 to pursue the only ambition he's ever really had, to be the best figure skater in the world.
So many times when I'm on the ice at the Glenora, And I put on my jeans, and I go out there, and I've got an old baggy sweatshirt on, and I don't care if I'm not allowed to have jeans on. I don't care if everyone else is working hard. And I find the jumps just fly. And, you know, in the spins, oh, you fall over and you're laughing. You're just out there, and you're in the groove. You're just out there doing something that is real special.
Even with the quad firmly in the history books, for the World Championship in Paris in 1989, the smart money was not on Kurt Browning. It was on the Soviet skater, Viktor Petrenko. Petrenko had been the bronze medalist in Calgary and was the heir apparent to the world crown. Everyone knew it was Viktor's turn. Everyone except Michael Uranek and Kurt Browning. It had been 10 years since their first 15-minute lesson. 10 hard years which led to this. Browning came first in Paris. He was now the finest amateur figure skater in the world. He was 22 years old.
After the media, and after all the attention and all the interviews and the 36 hours straight where I didn't really have anything to eat, all I did was run around and talk to people, I started thinking, what in the world have I done to myself here? I mean, after most competitions, I'm used to being off with my friends and spending some time with my family and doing what all the other kids and all the other skaters are doing. I hadn't even seen a teammate of mine for a day and a half. So busy. And that thought has come back and bounced towards me every once in a while. What have I done? But that was one of the first things I thought. Holy smoke, everything's changed. Just like that.
Just a year before, he had camped out overnight in a lineup to get hockey tickets. By the time his turn came, they'd sold out and he was turned away with the rest of the crowd. But that was before Paris.
Oh, we're up, sorry. We're in the skybox, dance skybox, and this is Kurt Browning, current world figure skating champion. Let's hear it for Kurt.
Hello, everybody.
Now there were invitations, appearances, sponsorships, agents. Kurt Browning was in the big time.
The 2 end zones, that's the greatest thing.
Being the champion had its rewards, but staying the champion had a price.
Go, 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 come on, you can do it, go, go, go. Come on, I can do it, 20 seconds, come on, you're there.
His detractors claimed that he had only won at Paris because Viktor Petrenko had skated badly. Petrenko, they said, was a classic skater, a ballet dancer. He had poise, sophistication, elegance. Browning was just a cowboy's son who lived to jump higher and faster and better than anyone before him. The battle between Browning and Petrenko had been joined.
It's fun because he's so far away. He's in Odessa, or he travels all around the world trying to find nice time, and I'm here and I think about him. I think, wonder what Victor's doing. And then I think how strange, a little kid from Caroline, Alberta, and some kid from Odessa, and then we know each other so well, but we actually don't really sit down very often and talk. But we know each other. He's such an important part of my life. He's why I train so hard. And it's sort of a really interesting relationship if you get drilled deep into it. We need each other.
As a warm-up, it's all right, but do another one.
Why do I do it? My coach asked me that just 2 days ago because I was having a bad session, and he's like, why do you do this? He says, if you're so upset today, then why do you do this? And I looked at him and I said, well, I like to win. And he said, but after that? And I said, well, okay, that's not the real reason. I said, I just love to skate. Whatever it is that makes it feel like a jump. I just get into it and I feel I'm just searching for something instead of just doing it, you know?
While Browning and Uranek sweated in Edmonton, they knew that Victor Petrenko was doing the same thing in the Ukraine. Petrenko had not expected to lose in Paris and had spent the year waiting to skate in the 1990 Worlds to be held in Halifax. The skater who performs first can either set the standard or effectively take himself out of the competition. In Halifax, there was no doubt that Petrenko was in until the end.
Time, those are the first place marks, and what Kurt Browning has to do now is surpass that performance, and that was quite a performance. Well, Kurt Browning's just where he was a year ago, second going into the free skating program. He won the free skate last year to capture the World Championship in Paris. He knows what Petrenko has done, thus what he must do now. Performance. This magnificent audience in Halifax. I've never seen anything like that before in my life. The first set of marks are coming out. Goodness gracious, I think perhaps on the strength of those marks, he has done it. He has come from behind Petrenko. His first set of marks. Petrenko did not get anything like that array of 5.9. He has beaten Victor Petrenko in this free skating program.
Petrenko was second. The American, Chris Bowman, was third. Browning had not watched Petrenko perform, yet he had come from behind, landed 7 triples, and was still champion of the world. Now there would be more deals, more invitations, more money, more pressure. But there was still time to get back to Caroline and reminisce with his folks.
Well, I think it was Kurt's pro that was teaching him figure skating on hockey skates, said, hey, I think it's time this boy put on a pair of figure skates and get these hockey skates off. So, wasn't that a bit? So we had to buy the figure skates.
Girls' white figure skates.
With blue fuzzy covers.
I made blue fuzzy covers.
And they were fun because you could hook your toe on it after and flick it up and hook it on the thing. I don't know why it didn't bother me.
He didn't seem to care whether they were girls or white or blue or what, as long as they were skates.
The third World Championship was to be held in Munich, and again it would be billed as a head-on collision between Petrenko and Browning. Both skaters knew that at their peak there was little to choose between them. They were both great jumpers, wondrous skaters, fierce competitors. Off the ice, they were even becoming friendly, but on the ice, their lives were now forever joined in one of the great rivalries of sport. Yet there could be only one world crown, and Victor Petrenko wanted it desperately. The only thing stopping him was Kurt Browning, and in Munich in 1991, it would be Browning who would skate first.
He was the underdog, and he came from behind to win the long program and the gold against Faddeev of the Soviet Union. Last year, he was second after the short behind Victor Petrenko, but again he won. And now Kurt Browning of Canada looking for his third consecutive world championship.
Sure what exactly Kurt is going to try. However, we'll have to wait and find out.
This is where Kurt is really going to pick up marks technically. These triple combinations are what are going to set him above the rest of the crowd. This was nonetheless a very, very strong performance. It's really going to put some pressure on Victor Petrenko.
Well, I think Victor is definitely going to have to come out here and skate a very clean performance.
While the crowd roared, Browning knew that he'd missed a landing. He'd also planned a quad, but when he went for it, he didn't have the height and had to settle for a triple. He also knew that at this level, the judges rarely missed an error or a change, and that he'd left the door open for Victor Petrenko.
Well, Chris, if this isn't pressure, I do not know what is.
He chose to do the double toe on the end of it, but it was beautiful.
The only criticism of Victor in the past has been his stamina. He's 1 minute away.
That he's got stamina.
Barb, I don't know if this performance is going to be enough to beat Kurt, but I am certainly impressed by the way he has risen to the challenge that was presented to him this evening. The crowd is once again rising to its feet because we have just seen one more outstanding performance. He is absolutely delighted with his own effort.
Well, both Kurt and Victor made one small mistake, so it's going to be really interesting to see what the judges do with this.
A couple of 5.7s in there. He'll need very high marks for artistic impression. But right now, Browning is the leader.
The marks were so confusingly close that at first, no one was really sure who had won.
5.9s, and there are 5.8s there. Remember, he was the leader after the original program, but it's not enough.
When they finally worked it out, Kurt Browning from Caroline, Alberta, had become the world champion 3 years in a row.
He wears gold at the World Championships.
In the time since the Calgary Olympics, his life had changed completely. Yet suddenly, all too fast, he was less than a year away from another Olympics. Less than a year away from another showdown with Petrenko at Albertville. And yet this was the time when Kurt Browning made a strange and unpredictable decision.
This would really be like a very traditional opera piece. I don't mean predictable.
Thinking of starting right where they started?
I don't know.
Perhaps it was that he was growing up. Perhaps he sensed there should be more. Perhaps it was time to take his performance to a new level, to prove he was more than a jumper. Whatever it was, sometime in 1991, Kurt Browning, the cowboy kid, changed. The style and character that brought him here were no longer enough. Browning began searching for a new way, a different way. His instincts were leading him into uncharted waters and leaving the team behind him, confused and unsure. Choreographer Brian Power had designed the program for Munich. But now Kurt wanted something radically different.
No, for the second slow part? I mean, if you were to do it on the music, let's say, wouldn't that be nice to see you do the quadruple here? That's a dream.
I'd like to see a quadruple anywhere. I don't care if it...
Where can I get that?
Kurt Browning was starting from the bottom and remaking the world champion. But not everyone was convinced it was the right direction.
See, I'm not convinced that Kurt can do super difficult classical music and beat
Possible. I know what you mean.
the top stars who are having the ballet training and everything behind. I think Kurt needs that crowd support. Kurt needs that clapping of the fans who like the music even without the skating.
Yeah, like last year.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. If it could bomb. I mean, an entire Stravinsky thing might not work.
Oh, I thought we were settled.
And you weren't.
Well, we sent him back to Vancouver for 8 days to get all these things settled, and then the coach comes back and listens to a 41-minute piece of music for 2 minutes and tells me there's nothing there. And you wonder why you hate your coach. But, so we have to go find some other piece of music. So I'm not going out there today. Not to play with Stravinsky, because I don't even know what parts of it we're going to use, if any. So it'd be a total waste of time. Which I don't have a lot of right now.
Oh, stop.
It would be Uranik's wife, Renata, who would step in to complete the choreography. She believed that Kurt was right, that he was growing up, and that in Firebird, by Stravinsky, he had found a quality he was seeking.
That's work. That's working. It's good. Can you handle it? That's good. That's
Yeah, that
working.
feels much better. I almost fell, though.
Yeah, but that feels good. Isn't it? It's go. It's the flow. Yeah.
You know, in the beginning, it's all mystical. So, you know, even Kurt can get that look into his eye and just said, I would like to see all our audience just to get quiet, just you know, and start from that deep feeling of greatness, that something great is going to happen.
More knee, go deep in a knee. Oh, clumsy.
Firebird was different and difficult, new territory for Browning. But as the piece started to come together, so did the team.
We need you. We've got problem with these jumps. It feels awkward, it looks awkward.
Even the coach started to come around.
It was rather simple, yes, but I would have to see the other spins to remember what was here.
You know, when you do this move, that move happened in the corner. Now it happened somewhere in a... Okay, why?
The combination. Well, I wasn't doing both jumps last time, was I?
Can you acid more? Curve it more in the crossovers and then go back?
Jesus, that hurt. Ow. I didn't need to fall that hard.
In Browning's competitive life, the sport had changed. It was no longer enough just to be a great skater. Figure skating had swung from the dance to the jump.
I know everyone's blaming me, but I think it started with like Vern Taylor and Brian Orser, and Brian Boitano, of course, is just one of the best, if not the best jumper in the world. And these guys started doing programs that had 7, 8 triples in it, and then I just took it the extra step and started doing triple combinations. And now the cat's out of the bag, and the guy from Hong Kong has got 3 triples he could choose from. Midori Ito's doing triples, Christy Yamaguchi. And if you don't do them, you're not on the podium.
In the fall of 1991, there was to be a pre-Olympic competition, La Ligue, to be held in the arena at Albertville. This would be the last international event before the real thing, a time to test the competition one last time, to see who had anything new, to get on nodding terms with the Olympic ice, a time to audition Firebird. But there were 2 problems that fall in France. First, Petrenko didn't show up. Perhaps it was a psychological move. Maybe he didn't want to lose again to Browning so close to the Olympics. Maybe he was working on a new program and wanted to surprise the judges. Whatever it was, he did not show up for La Ligue. The other problem was to become much more serious.
Est-ce que vous avez de ultrasound ici, chez vous? Une ultrasound? Ultrasound. Ultrasonic.
Kurt Browning was 25 years old in the fall of 1991, but his back was much, much older. The jumps, the landings, the shock, the falls, the simple act of skating, they had all taken their toll at the worst possible time. As the word of his injury got out, the other skaters realized that perhaps this was their chance to knock off the world champion, their chance at glory. For Browning, suddenly and for the first time, winning was no longer everything.
You know, sometimes you can worry about things too much. And Michael, my coach, and I have always skated because we liked it. And we like winning, and we do our best to do that. But we also realize that we have to go home and walk off the plane without crutches. So we're going to be careful, and we're going to see what we can do here.
With the Olympics looming and the other skaters waiting to pounce, Browning decided not to withdraw, but instead to skate through the pain.
That was supposed to have been a triple loop. He did a single, and you saw the way he dropped his head at the end of it. He was obviously in some pain, and it's evident that this was not the performance that Kurt wanted to give here today.
Even with a missed jump, Browning would win the battle at La Ligue, but he would lose the war with his back.
The spasms are letting go, and I'm standing more above the vertebrae again instead of... The body was just pulling itself away from the pain.
So, which means when you were standing straight, you were in pain?
I was always in pain, but...
So, what's like the normal guy off the street that we see, or a workman that gets a back injury like this, is usually we say that you're sort of 6 to 8 weeks from the stage that you're at before you can say go back to your job. Okay, now your activity has a lot more demands on it. Looking at your back now, is that's what would happen, I think.
And that's why it's important to start your back therapy and also look very closely at alternate forms of training that wouldn't aggravate your back, but would allow you to develop some cardiovascular fitness. So you come back to the ice with some physical capabilities, not skating capabilities, but at least base fitness capabilities.
Now, the important thing in Kurt's condition is that the nerves that come out of his back that run out of this hole, and then the spinal cord that is represented here by this metal piece, were pushed upon a little bit by the disc bulging out. So that's what is producing all of the pain and the muscle tightness and the spasm that he's getting in his back.
The most important thing that we need is confidence. Yeah. We already know how to skate. This break, with the motivation that we'll have when we get back on the ice, will be not that bad, especially if we treat it well. Yeah, you know, 3-4 weeks off the ice.
Would be healthy then.
As long as we're healthy, that's all we need.
The 6 weeks off the ice would be the longest 6 weeks of Kurt Browning's life. He stayed home and took the phone off the hook.
We couldn't even get in contact with him because he wouldn't answer the phone, people bugging him, so he just left the phone lay. We finally had to go through the lawyer to get a hold of him because we didn't know what was happening either.
So you start on Monday with Renata.
Browning's body was hurting, but it would eventually heal. Getting his confidence back would be more difficult. They had gone to La Ligue to audition Firebird, but the back injury had overshadowed everything. Now, for the first time, they were going to dissect the performance and rebuild the spirit of a world champion.
I smiled.
That's good. And look at this. This is excellent. This is absolutely perfect. Yeah, the tension is there. Yeah, that's excellent.
It stopped nice.
Yeah, this is excellent. I love this. So it's such a change from a beginning. Can you see? Look at this. I mean,
that was nice.
It is nice.
It's been 42 days since Kurt Browning stepped on the ice. It is less than 6 weeks until the Olympics. The comeback, if there is to be one, has to start here.
Smooth. Then Petrenko with the end. Yes. That's great.
it. You can do it, Kurt. You can do it. You can do it, Kurt.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we're after.
And we've been very fortunate that since we've been back on the ice, there's been no more reoccurring injuries, no setbacks, and basically it's been just about as smooth as we ever could have wanted it to be. I would have enjoyed another week at home probably, but I'm looking forward to the skating in Albertville, and I think that by seeing my competitors and seeing the Olympic surface and all the colors and everything that goes to the Olympics, it'll help me train even better. Just to be an Olympian, is the word itself just makes me kind of get shivers up my spine. So to try and win the Olympics is, you know, it's something that I think I'm going to think about after it's all over. Right now I have a job to do.
Although publicly he said his body was healthy, what the pain and the layoff had done to him mentally, only Kurt Browning knew for sure.
Sylvie Degla, the speed skater, carrying the flag for Canada as the team of 117 enters the stadium. Kurt Browning says he feels great, had a great practice, Peter, on Thursday. The back is no problem, and he really enjoys the relaxed atmosphere here in these games in the Savoie. Victor Petrenko.
Well, he has been criticized this year because he has kept the same long program for the third year in a row. But what this will do for him is give him much more confidence because he has performed it so many times.
By the time Victor Petrenko brought his program to Albertville, every gesture had been refined, every step instinctive, every movement practiced precision.
He'll be opening with the triple axel, triple toe loop combination. Watch the speed going in.
It was not Petrenko's greatest performance, but after Browning fell in the short program and then again in the long, it would be enough to win the gold. They had dueled for 4 years. It was now Victor Petrenko's turn to win. Browning placed 6th overall and flew back to Alberta, alone and despondent.
When you made the slip in the long program,
which one? There was enough problems in that long program that you just get off the ice and say, let's watch the rest of the guys compete. A lot of things go through your mind. The long program doesn't stick in my mind half as much as the short does, because the short program I've had for this would have been my 2nd year, and it's really only 2 jumps, and then to miss my edge on the first jump, it really, really crushed me. And just like that, it was done. And it didn't seem fair. It just didn't seem right to come back so far and then just to lose your edge and have it gone. And the Olympics are done, and we've talked about it every day because I have no choice. Everyone walks up to me and talks about it. And the first thing that happened after Albertville was I was so surprised about how supportive everyone in my home country was of me. That not coming home with a medal didn't change the way they felt about me. And if anything, it really inspired me to get back on my blades and to see if we can't pull something off in Oakland.
Representing the Commonwealth of Independent States, Victor Petrenko.
At the World Championships in Oakland, 6 weeks after the Olympics, Victor Petrenko arrived with a new costume, a new gold medal, but the same old program. This was probably the last time we would see it, and almost certainly the last time he and Browning would compete at this level. For after Oakland, Victor Petrenko would retire from amateur competition and move on to the professional circuit. Unlike most sports, the move from amateur to professional is not a step up in figure skating. Rather, it is a step away from the real action, a step that Browning was not yet ready to make.
It's not the Olympics, but still, I have an opportunity to maybe win 4 world titles, and I'm still going to go there trying to win the gold. Coming 6th at the Olympics doesn't change that feeling inside me.
Browning skated well in the Worlds, but at the end of the day, the judges would give the edge to his old rival. And in 1992, Victor Petrenko capped his amateur career by winning the Oakland World Championship. The battle was over. On this day, at least, Kurt Browning had to settle for being the second-best skater in the world. And both he and Petrenko would watch as a new generation made their way to the podium.
In 3rd place and winner of the bronze medal, representing Canada, Elvis Stoico.
The younger skaters now wanted their share of the glory, the fame, the adulation. But Kurt was caught in a peculiar quirk in sport history. The next Winter Olympics were scheduled to take place not the traditional 4 years away, but this time only 2 in Lillehammer in 1994.
I want to stay in. I want to stay amateur, and I love training. I like coming to the rink every day and seeing if I can go home happy at the end of the day. And the allure of 1 more Olympic Games, Lillehammer is just too much. I want to stay in and see if I can go for it again and enjoy the trip, so the story doesn't end.
Kurt Browning, of course, did fulfill his dreams of skating at the '94 Olympics at Lillehammer as he had hoped, competing against his arch-rival Victor Petrenko once again. But almost more importantly, Browning's contributions to figure skating will never be forgotten. He threw down the gauntlet to both male and female skaters by landing that first quadruple jump over 5 years ago. And the challenge to match and maybe even surpass his feat keeps the stakes high out there on the ice. Next on stage, a portrait of French Impressionist painter and sculptor Edgar Degas. Don't go away.